It's not going to be about fragrance content. Specifically, I mean, there are some around fragrances and maybe a little bit about fragcom, but it's not going to be about fragrances or fragrance review per se. We'll see what the where the talk takes me. I don't have time for edits or anything like that, so it's one shot. I'm sorry if there may be some interruptions and stuff like that, but it is what it is. And let's start. So today is December 21st, and traditionally in Iran we celebrate this as the Yalda night. So this is basically the winter solstice, and there are certain traditions we have. Today is the shortest day of the year, and usually that's how it works, and the longest night of the year. Anyways, this is not about that. This is about a topic that has kind of occupied my brain for a while. And I haven't been posting a lot recently because of it, certainly. And a little bit, it's going to sound like ranting. And if you do not like to hear any ranting, if you do not like to hear anything that is kind of maybe complaining a little bit, and you just scroll through. You don't have to listen to this. This is, I guess, the season of cheer. Then just, I do understand. And I appreciate you for that. So, with that warning, trigger warning, I'm going to start talking about something that has been kind of um, an issue for the past 4 years, I would say, like 4 years or 5 years, I think, since pretty much like a few months into COVID. And I've been thinking about it often. I feel like there has been a shift in general in the society. I remember one distinct day I got out. Um, this was early in COVID when everything was shut down. We were working from home. And I just felt I got out for a drive, and I hadn't been out for a drive in a week or so. And I felt like everyone was driving so aggressively in some ways, and everyone was kind of angry, and it felt really different than the world that I was used to. Here in Canada, we lived quite. People were happy, and generally speaking, like you wouldn't see a lot of people driving angry. You wouldn't see people like giving you fingers when they're driving. You wouldn't see those things very often. I mean, it would happen, but not that often. And that day was a day. I mean, I'm sure it was happening before that, maybe even before COVID, but I felt like for me it was crystallized that day that there was a shift in how people were acting, like in terms of some aggression, some really different way of life, and has persisted throughout. And I feel like it's gone past COVID and even and nowadays. And it shows itself in different ways, and not only in like day-to-day activities and relationships and work and things like that. It also kind of, I think it probably has impacted Fracom in some ways, and how we interact with each other is just basically global, right? Like what happens in the Fracom, usually any little community or sub community, it's usually representative of what happens in the society as a general. I mean, maybe sometimes there are things that are exaggerated because of whatever the biases of people if there are in there, but it usually has some sort of relation what happening to the community in general, or globally. A lot of things with the war in Ukraine, and like the Israel and Palestine, and Israel's attack on Iran, and the whole kerfuffle there, and all those things has kind of really, I think, affected in general, the community and how people react to each other. It opened my eyes, and I've always been curious about how people interact with each other and what affects their relationship, and really opened my eyes to possibly there being some sort of effect in the community in general. And in terms of Fragcom wise, to be honest, I have been a little bit discouraged in terms of posting anything, posting anything basically, have any social media presence. I feel like when you put yourself on social media, and it is as if perceived as you give people the right to, you know, attack you, and people perceive it as that way, that this is okay because you put yourself in a public place. It's okay to attack you, your personality, your family, your values, whatever you are about, without having generally a knowledge about you. And it's okay to do that just because of the fact that you have put yourself up in public, which not something that I believe in. I mean, you could comment what if that is what you believe in or not. um, I generally feel like what I do and my social media, it's my business as long as it doesn't really affect freedom of others or affect, it's not offensive to others, like one's opinion. And obviously there's shades of gray in there, but anyways, I have been a little bit discouraged on doing that. Not only that, because as a woman in a position that works, I have worked in a lot of male dominated environment, and I'm not a visible minority. I am used to those kind of things, like to being attacked and whatnot, but this is a little bit of a different flavor. And it feels a little bit more personal in some ways, even though those are also personal, but this is something that I do for fun, and what I do for, enjoyment of it and just fun, and it's not my work, and I've mentioned it a million times. And nothing happened recently, by the way. Like, nothing happened to me personally recently. So this has nothing to do with anything that anyone said. So don't worry about what you said or what the comments were. There's nothing about me. Like, there's absolutely nothing about me. I've been watching things, and partially I feel like this kind of feeling of mine has been in relation to that. Like, I came across some makeup content, and I think I mentioned in Discord, makeup content recently, and it's a huge kerfuffle and drama about it, and people are like both sides attacking each other, and it's just so, it kind of discourages me from being in that space in general. And it's similar things happens in Fracom. This was a makeup content, but we see it a lot in Fracom, and it has been a little bit, has me think that I'm kind of out of place in the community. I feel like the best way to explain it is like I feel like a suburb mom in the housewife of LA environment. And that's not a pleasant place for me to be. And I don't like to be out of place. And it's not that one is right and one is wrong. It's just that I just don't feel like I belong in some ways. And I know that's probably the distortion because, people who are extreme are the loudest and the more present, and you end up having some sort of biased opinion on things like that. So, with that in mind, I looked up to see what are the factors that are fragrance content reviewers or fragrance content creators are generally feeling discouraged by putting content on. Because usually what I say, like, if it's something, it's a human experiences, right? Like, if it's something is happening to me, it's most likely happening to other people. Like, there must be someone else who experienced this. It's like, I'm not the only person. I'm not narcissistic in that way. Nothing happens to me only. So, so I looked it up, and it seems like there are some trends and there are some people talking about it. I just wanted to bring some light to it. And if you have experienced anything like this, if you are feeling like what I'm feeling, I'd like to hear from you guys, your opinions, your what you have come up with, and how you are dealing with this. That would be really, really helpful for all of us, I think, at the end. Yeah, bringing some awareness. I feel like that's important. So, one of the findings is that the fragrance content creators are kind of experiencing emotional and cognitive overload with engagement in social media, which is absolutely true. And I feel like social media, like, it can be such a mindless thing, like just going on your phone and just looking at one video after other, especially these days, like half the stuff you don't even know if they are AI generated or real, like, and it's getting better and better. It's kind of a little bit concerning. So there's that. Um, and Apparently, heavy social media use is linked to increased emotional fatigue, stress, cognitive overload, symptoms that overlap with burnout. And one study found out that the time spent on multiple social media platforms correlated with emotional exhaustion and psychological strain. Partly also, I feel like there is this trend to be, it's all kind of dopamine baiting in that, like, the social media providers are even psychologically intense when they are creating a content. Like, I'm gonna give you an example of it. Like, even the talking points, they're talking like this, and then like the hand movements and all these weird things and the bling blings and the sound and stuff like that. I feel like as someone who is vulnerable to get sensory overloaded, not only that social media is generally like it's all sensory, but it's like this added features of it. It just makes it even worse to be a little bit more overloaded in terms of all those weird movements, all these kind of guys. I'm thinking and talking like that, and just like God, it's like a not normal way of talking. Like all this kind of highlights of stuff, it kind of makes it really exhausting over time watching. To me, anyways, at the end of the day, I don't know if it's like that for you guys, but I do feel like that. That at the end of the day, I find people who are also probably this is one of my vulnerabilities in that I am not as much as you might think that I'm not an extroverted person. I am an introverted person in principle. Grew up shy, all of that. So any sort of extra kind of exhibition of these things is extra sensory overload for me. So it is kind of draining in some ways. Then we talk about the whole kind of drama pattern, right? And then how people may come across very aggressive against another's opinion and like keep attacking each other on these kind of platforms. And sometimes like a bad car accident and you can't stop watching because, like how the car accident, and everybody's trying to watch. I'm like, what are you watching? It's nothing good to watch. But so there could be also that, so that contributes to this kind of like the overload and cognitive fatigue. Another one they mention here is the social comparison. I may have to stop the camera here for a second. Not a second. Is a social comparison and self-worth stress. Um, so I don't feel particularly that this applies to me because that's generally not kind of person I am. Like I feel like I'm grown up that point to compare myself to other people and I think less of myself because what other people are doing, like maybe in the past I would be like that if I was in my 20s and stuff like that. I'm no longer like that because I don't really, honestly, I don't care. And I feel like what I do, it's my thing and my shtick. And if you like me the way I am, good. And if you don't, then scroll. Like, I don't care. So, but I could see for someone who's younger or maybe in a different kind of mindset or, state, this could be very difficult, the constant comparison to yourself to others. Fear of missing out. So this could be a big one, and especially in the kind of fragrance community when things come out and accessibility is always an issue and the prices are going higher and higher and higher all the time, and not having access to same means, not having the same connections, even in the vintage community, right? Like, so if you don't know this, like plugs, or you don't have access to things, or you don't live like in a city that has access to things, you may not be able to get your hands on things. And obviously, it seems like YouTube and Instagram, and most of them are like kind of reward, and people are looking for the new releases, right? Like people are not looking for a review of, I don't know, deer or hypnotic poison. They're not looking for that. Like it's in, and you see that in the numbers. And even if you don't really care about numbers, you care about the effort that you put in. You most likely want to see the effort that you put into doing a video succeed and people want to watch it and get some benefit from. So there's this kind of fear of missing out when you're not getting something as soon as it's released or even pre-released, or getting like, the pressures of that, and having to access that. So that is adding a little bit to the whole fuel. Passive versus active use. So there is passive consumption, which is scrolling, browsing without interaction, and it is strongly associated with negative mood and emotional exhaustion than active engagement, you know? And it's like this morning, I wasted an hour watching on TikTok, and it was kind of basically AI made stories, and it is like reading kind of like a novel, like a mindless novel. I needed that. And you know what? Some of us, like in our life, work, everything is so stressful, and we need to veg sometimes and just be mindless. But too much of it could also probably affect you negatively in some ways. And then the active engagement would be like, probably the active engagement would be using it for some sort of purpose, like, and that gives you motivation and, like passion and just kind of fuel your passion and moving up. Disrupted work life boundaries. And that is really, really important because the fragrance content reviewers reporting frequent checking notifications or pressure to be on socially, and in addition to workplace responsibilities and showing higher work-life conflict and burnout indicators. So a lot of, some make living out of this kind of content, but some don't, and it's kind of a passion project for us. But somehow, even for the people who this is a passion project and a hobby and whatnot, it comes to the point that you want to see what you're doing succeed, and you want to get good feedback on it, and in order to get that, you need to engage with your audience. You need to be present to a certain degree, like, as apparently I found out today or yesterday, that like some of these platforms reward people posting on a daily basis on a certain hour and whatever, and that can be exhausting over time, like on top of everything else that you do. Like for me, it is almost impossible. Like I mean, you've seen, like sometimes I have tried to like stick to scent of the day, short ones for like a week. Definitely is not going to happen on the weekend, so there's not consistency in that way. And when I do lives, it could be any time of day and hours, usually in the morning when there's nobody around. So it is what it is. But this also can create a little bit of a difficulty because obviously there's sometimes life is so busy, your work is so busy, the kids have needs, the kids are sick, and then what? Like, then you feel like you could feel like you've stayed behind, and you're not posting and you're not doing it, you're not engaging, and that could be like an added stress. Social media as a work demand for content creators. That is true. Metrics are public. So, whereas when you're doing your work, like in your workplace, your metrics are, if there are metrics, the metrics are for your employer to see, like for, with your manager, then it's not like printed on your forehead, right? So, not everyone can see you're doing poorly or good. But in social media isn't like that. The metrics are public for everyone's view, and you get judged on it, which is can sound, sometimes the feedback can be hostile, as it's mentioned here, and that is true. Effort reward ratios are unstable. Absolutely true. So when you put a content, I see people who do really, really good content on vintage fragrances. They do really, really good content on some of the very obscure fragrances, as I am told I own a fragrance collection of obscure fragrances, but they do not see the reward, and reward being the engagement, not really even like views, but people watching it and commenting on it. You want to see engagement, right? Like, I mean, watching it would be views, but like even people who are viewing, you want to at least hear from them, right? Not always like that, because if you're posting something that is not, it's an obscure fragrance, if you're posting something that's vintage and discontinued, a lot of time you don't get any feedback from it, and which is okay. And I'm trying to stay with, I'm doing this for myself. I'm doing this for myself, as in this is my passion project. People like me will like me. People don't like me, I don't care. I'm never gonna make money. I'm never gonna make a living out of YouTube for sure. Nothing can pay me as much as my own job. So it's okay. But it's still like, that you're, I don't wanna call myself a competitor, but I'm a little bit like anything I do, I need to do it well, and I need to do it, um, not perfect, but I need to do it well to my own standards. So that is the stress that you put on yourself. I can see that could be a little bit difficult. Um, Increased emotional label, higher anxiety and exhaustion, and that's kind of adds to that. So then the last point that they have made is that the sleep disruption and psychological strain. Apparently, frequent social media, especially at night, contributes to poor sleep quality, greater fatigue, increased psychological symptoms, which I could see happening. Like I see a lot of people, which is not me. Like I am dead at 10 o'clock usually, like by on the weekdays, and at 11 you can find me in a coma because I am so tired. Because I every morning I have to wake up early, but I see a lot of people staying up way too late, and I'm not judging them, but I wonder how are you even functioning on a daily basis when you're up to like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and you have to get up at 7 to go to work? Maybe you're the person who needs 5 hours, but that is definitely not me. But I can see if someone is vulnerable and feels the pressure to stay up, whether you're in a time zone that you need to stay up. So that is the majority of your audience are or whatnot. I don't know how you function during the day. I mean, you know that day sleep and night sleep are totally different. Night sleep has benefits that the day sleep doesn't, and affects your cortisol level differently. So um, it is. I can see what it could kind of ends up in like this kind of cycle. So basically, what they have concluded that what is the kind of sources of being discouraged of posting in social media is the kind of the chronic cognitive load, the social comparison, the FOMO and anxiety, boundary erosion, work-life interference. I would say in even these parasocial relationships are super strange that this was never a norm for any of us. And over time, so then people have developed parasocial relationships through the social media apps and things like that. And then it is really hard to navigate them because there's no norms. Like they're not friendships. They're not friendships over your real life. And however, that's like nowadays for a lot of people, that's the majority of people that they talk to. On they might be talking to someone from, let's say, other side of the world on a daily basis, but they're not talking to their friends on a daily basis. So, and then the expectations and everything that comes with that I think that adds to this whole kind of overload. Feedback pressure, yes, and a sleep disruption. So that's basically the main points they talked about. I'm also going to talk about a little bit of the, um, hold on a second. I think I may have to, and I'm going to talk about a little bit about this aggressive culture and that in that opinion, attacking someone's opinion. And when someone has an opinion about something, people attack their personality, their being, their sometimes even family values and all of that. That those are some of the things that really repels me or sometimes contributes to not wanting to post in social media. Um, and also when you criticize someone's opinion, just saying, I'm not sure, or like you criticize someone's opinion, it is taken as a narcissistic injury. And the anger and the backlash that comes out of that, it's unbelievable sometimes. So anyways, guys, let me know what you think of this. Leave me a comment if you feel like me, and you're a content creator. Let me know if you have found something that has made that feel better, if it's you found and sometimes I get these kind of you focus on the good things in your life and you focus on all the good things and maybe don't be on social media, which is okay, but I like certain aspects but also don't like certain aspects. So I'm not sure if I am aiming to lessen my presence in certain ways, but keep doing certain things on social media. And also just focusing on my blessings. It's a little bit of a, I don't know, to me, it's a naive worldview. Yes, I am blessed and I am privileged that I have food, I have family, I have people around me who care about me and love me. I am blessed that I have a career. I am blessed that I have friends, but I am not a person who can live in that bubble and go to bed feeling happy and content about my blessing in life. And while people around the world, children are dying of starvation, I can go to bed knowing that all these things happening around the world, and I and it is being normalized, nothing being done about it. I have a hard time going to bed thinking that there's so much poverty, abuse. There's so much pain and suffering in the world that people inflict on each other that kind of keeps going. It has a domino effect. I have a hard time. I look at my children and I feel like I am blessed by having them, and they are blessed by having food and shelter and a parent. But not a lot of kids do have that. And that is a pain for me. And I can't just pretend that everything is great. And, like I just count my blessing on a daily basis. And I have no control on other things. So I'm not going to do anything about it. So again, sorry, that was a really heavy subject. That was a rant. But if you are feeling like me, let me know. Let me know if you have found something that has helped you, but don't tell me that count your blessing and just focus on what you have, because that's not gonna be me. Anyways, that was a long rant. Have a good day, and I shall see you guys later. Bye bye. Oh, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification button if you liked my rant.